Just gotta wait for this YouTube to load and then I'll get everybody in here. And I usually do this really corny thing of getting people to say woo woo every time like it starts to get quiet in the room. So this YouTube to load and then I'll get everybody in here. Okay, YouTube is live. And let me close this. And I'm gonna go ahead and let everyone in. Okay.
Let me mute.
All right, I'm gonna let everyone in. Good to go? Okay, cool. Hello, everybody. Good morning. Happy Saturday.
Hey, Bernard. Hey, everybody.
Hey, everyone. Hey, DJ. Hey, Bernard.
Hey,
How's it going?
doing well. How y'all doing?
Good. Bernard, where are you located?
I'm in Atlanta, but
Oh,
right now I'm
cool.
in New York.
This is your first time coming to one of our events, right?
Yes, it is.
Hey,
Dang, he works with
welcome.
me at Pandora.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's awesome. It's nice to meet you. I'm
Nice to
Alexi.
meet you as well.
Hey everyone. Hey DJ. Hey Larry. Josh, Bethany. Good morning. Happy Saturday. We're going to get started in just a bit. If you all are able to, I would strongly suggest turning your cameras on. It's a really great way to network in the music industry. What I'll do in just a second is I'll give everyone a chance to go around the room and introduce themselves. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a contact sheet. So if you all want to get connected with folks, you'll be able to, let me just get this contact sheet really quick for y'all. How is everyone's Saturday morning going? I know it's early for some of you. Hey, Isaac. Isaac, it's 9 a.m. for you. How you doing?
Pretty early. I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Isaac is a producer going to USF, right, Isaac? Nice. His brother used to live with me. So now,
Special connections.
what did you say?
I said special connections.
Special connections. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Eugene. Hey, Alina, Quentin. Yeah, so I'm gonna grab this contact sheet in just a second and I'll drop it in the chat. If you all want to start connecting with people, this is a great way to do it. My one rule about this contact sheet is you all are not allowed to spam people on this contact sheet. If I find out that y'all are spamming people on the contact sheet, I will take it away. So I am gonna drop that in the chat. All right, y'all should be able to access it and add your information if you want to connect with people. And this is something we do every single time we have an event, just so that you all have extra opportunities to network and meet people. Sometimes it's great for you all to sell your services on there. Obviously, don't do it in a spammy and weird way, but if you all want to connect with people and tell people like, hey, I'm a songwriter, I'm a producer, you can drop that in the notes section. Cool. So again, I strongly suggest you all turn your cameras on if you're able to. It's a great way to connect with people. But I'm going to go around the room and allow some of y'all to introduce yourselves. Does anyone want to volunteer? Eugene, go for it.
Hey, Eugene.
Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Eugene. I go by Billie Jean. I'm a DJ. This is like one of my first I guess music industry, I guess, events. I just came kind of to see like what it's about. Network, 'cause music programming thing, see like what it's all about, network with different people. So
Oh, cool. Eugene, where are you located?
I'm from Jersey.
Nice. How'd you find out about the event?
I follow Jan. We went to school together as well. So she had posted it on Twitter. So I was like, let me check it out, see what's up. So
Hey, cool. Well, welcome to the Finesse family. You are now a part of it. Cool. Thanks for introducing yourself. Riza, I'm gonna call on you to introduce yourself. What's good?
Hey, what's up? I'm Raza, otherwise known as RZ. I don't even remember what the prompt or the question was, but
No, no prompt. You can just introduce yourself.
Just the intro.
okay. I thought we had a little intro thing. But yeah, I'm just an artist. I'm based out of Minneapolis, currently in Minnesota. So chilling under Canada. And what else do I do? I got a company called Artist Xanadu, my creative umbrella for music, film, and fashion. And I recently just finished my yoga teacher training. So I've been teaching the youth out here, the Black youth. So it's been cool. So it's a little about me.
Cool. Thanks, Riza. Also, that story you posted on Instagram was so funny this morning. Riza was riding around in some golf cart looking thing, talking about his whip.
There's a little side by side out in the country. We were shooting a video. So I was like, hey, y'all got Lamborghinis. I got a little side by side.
Hey. You're gonna be talking about it in your next song. Cool. All right. Taquam. Hi, Taquam. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, yeah, I'm Taquam. I'm a student currently. I'm trying to just, tap into the entertainment industry. I'm studying entertainment management right now, so yeah, I'm excited to be here. I haven't joined one of these meetings in a while, so
I know,
I'm
it's
glad
good to
to
see your
be back.
face.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, Taquam. Larry, you're up.
You always call on me like right when I'm doing something else.
Because I like your smile.
I'm Larry, and I am half of Brother Pathos, and I am a producer. And right now I'm producing pretty much everything. There is a local place that local to Texas that has a lot of sync briefs in different genres. So me and my music partner have been stretching each other. So it's been a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to see everyone. And I don't know, Alexi, would you consider me being a OG member by now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're practically an OG member. You were, I think, a year or two in
Yeah.
of Mass Media.
Okay.
We'll count you.
Thank you.
Cool. DJ, I'm gonna call on you.
Hey, I'm DJ. I'm the artist manager and as well as a founder of Linux Hill, which is like a creative agency. I curate events as well as like utilize my tech background to help streamline processes for other creatives.
DJ's dope. He's out in Philly.
Philadelphia.
He's so tall.
I was literally just in Philly like 2 weeks ago. Shout out to Philly.
Shout out to Philly. Cool. Thanks, DJ. Bethany, I'm gonna call on you.
Hi, everybody. As she said, my name's Bethany, and I am more rooted in the choreographer creative direction side of the entertainment industry. However, I am venturing out and I enjoy exploring all different sides of the creative space involving music. So I enjoy telling stories in any way that I can do that, whether that's writing, composing, creating choreography, whatever it might be. So if anybody is ever interested in collaborating and maybe needs help more on the visuals side, let me know.
Cool. Thanks, Bethany. I'm so glad you're making it back to the events. Cool. Isaac, I know I introduced you slightly, but I'm going to call on you. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Hi guys, I'm Isaac. I'm a second year student at USF. I've been producing and making beats for, like a year and a half now. And I feel like in that time it's really grown into like a real lifestyle passion sort of thing. And I'm hoping that through Finesse Media I'll be able to meet more artists, more producers, anyone in the creative space. And I just really hope I get to meet a lot of new faces and work with a lot of new people.
Cool. Thanks, Isaac. Missing No, you're back. Woohoo! What's up?
Yeah, hey. Not much. How's it been?
It's good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am Missing No. I make music that is inspired by video games, and Missing No is kind of like a Pokemon reference, if you know. And I'm chilling. I'm here to, meet people, Finesse Media. I like to see those on these great events, and I'm just like most people here to expand my network and just grow and connect with people and just see how to make things work,
Missing No is also one of our almost OGs. He's been here for a while.
Wait, what is the criteria to being an OG?
just being around for the last like 4 years that we've been here. Missing Now, I think, has been around for like 2.5, 3-ish, maybe.
It was definitely like start of the pandemic era is when I started, finding out about this stuff and doing all the Zoom. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So you're counted. Cool. Awesome. Anyone else want to introduce themselves? We got a couple more minutes before we go ahead and jump into the interview. St. P?
Yeah, I can. I'll go ahead. How you guys doing? My name is Saint Paul. I am an EVP for 100K management. I look over the artist development, and also recently doing marketing for Remain Solid Records. And really, I'm just here. It's my first time pulling up to these meetings, and just really here to meet new people, connect, and I'm always looking to expand my network. So.
Cool. Thanks for coming for the first time. Welcome to the Finesse fam. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Awesome. Linda, you're up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Linda Starr. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm a songwriter, vocalist. I'm definitely looking to get into sync licensing, so that's mainly my focus now. And yeah, I've been rocking with Finesse Media for a while, so I'm just happy to be here.
Still going strong. Linda, yawn. Linda has an incredible voice. She is a singer. She's not just a singer, she's a singer.
Thank
So
you.
good. I love you, Linda. I'm so glad I got to see you in New York a while back.
Yes, I love you too.
All right, thanks, Linda. Nika, you are up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nika. I'm from North Carolina. I am a music programmer. I have a couple years experience. I've worked with SiriusXM and Music Choice. I resigned from my position a couple years ago to explore other areas of the industry. So now I am managing my first artist. So I'm just coming in, first Finesse Media experience. I saw it on Yan's feed, so just coming to say hey and, just to check in with my music programming sis, see what she has to say about it, since I've been so far removed from it from the last couple of years. So glad to be here and connect with everybody.
Oh my goodness.
I literally say, I feel like I know you. Thank you for coming on.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And congratulations on starting to manage your first artist. That's exciting. Oh my
Thank you so much.
Yes. Cool. Well, welcome to the Finesse family. Laura, you are up.
Hi, everyone. My name is Laura, and I founded my own media company. It's multimedia, so I do like creative direction, photography, marketing, all of the above. I'm based out of Toronto, and I've just been like mutuals with Yan for a while on social. So I'm like, I gotta come in and support. I've always wanted to touch base, so I'm like, I'm finally here. But I mean, if anyone's like not following Yan on Twitter, you should be, because she shows a lot of good stuff. So that's what I'm about. But yeah, I'm just kind of here to meet new people and just be a resource as well. So I've shot a lot of the major names in music, and yeah, I'm just kind of here to connect and see what's up.
Thanks, Laura. It's so nice to have you on here. Yeah, Yan, we were just talking about this. I told you, everybody's literally waiting for you to talk. That's what everybody wants today. Cool. Ariana, you're up.
Hi, I'm Ariana Reed, and I'm an R&B singer and producer based out of Toronto, Greater Toronto area. I'm so excited to connect with you all today. And similar to Laura, I'm here to support Yan. I'm so excited to hear what you have to say, and I just can't wait to see you shine. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ariana. Kaimani, you let me know how to pronounce your name properly.
Yep, Kamani.
Kamani,
That's how
welcome
he
in.
starts. So he literally taught me how to stream yesterday. So shout out to him, because he did not have to do. He sent me all these videos like, you know what? You're a real one. I fuck with you.
Of course.
Hey, well, it's nice to meet you, Kamani.
Hey, y'all. I'm Kamani. I'm the founder of Solar Records, which is an R&B platform that's geared to showcasing rising and independent R&B artists through our playlists, live events, interviews, articles, and more. And aside from that, I work with artists on their rollouts. I do graphic design, videography, web design, et cetera, et cetera.
Kimani, it's
Yeah.
so great to finally meet you face to face.
Nice to meet you too.
Cool, thank you. Bernard, you're up.
Hey, sorry. I'm Bernard, from North Carolina. I also work with Jan at Pandora. I'm on the hip hop side, so I do like the programming and like the social media for like Pandora Now, Shade 45, and Hip Hop Nation. On the side of that, like, you know, just a little bit of photography, videography, definitely in the short films and everything. So, you know, just yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Bernard, I'm so happy to connect with you. We've got a lot of hip hop and hip hop artists and R&B artists. We've got a lot of different types of artists all over here. So we might have to get you on here one of these days. Cool. Awesome. Anyone else want to introduce themselves before we go ahead and get started? Shawnee. Ooh, Shawnee can sing too. I love Shawnee. Hi, Shawnee.
Hey.
You're muted, Shawnee. I'll ask to unmute too. That might help.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm on my phone. Yeah, I'm just so happy that Finesse Media is back doing the meetings. My name is Shawnee, and I'm an R&B singer based in New York. I also work in audio production. I do a lot of audio narration work and everything like that. And I'm happy to be here. These meetings have been missed. Lexi, you have been missed. So I'm happy to be back in the mix with you guys.
Yes, love you, Shawnee. Thank you for joining again. I'm so happy to see your face. I'm so happy to see all of your faces. I hope everybody turns their cameras on. Awesome. Mariana and then Vashni, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. So Mariana, you're up.
Happy Saturday, everyone. My name is Mariana Ba, aka DJ Sajo, based out in New York City. I'm just here to listen. I saw Yan being featured, and I was like, you know what? Let me pull up, listen, and learn some more about music programming, and definitely tap in with the community.
Cool. It's nice to have you on here, Mariana. I think this is your first time coming, right?
Yes, this is my
welcome in. Cool. Awesome. Thank you. Vashni, you are last but not least.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Vash. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm a music producer, songwriter. I do a little sync, graphic design, and I got my own merch company. I'm here to, you know, connect with the community and see what everybody got going. Hope y'all day going swell.
Vash, you just met Janae, my girl.
Yeah, I did. I just left LA. We had a good time. It was really good.
Hey, I'm so glad that you actually made it to one of our events. I'm happy to meet you face to face now.
Yes, I made it a priority to show up, so I'm glad I'm here.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm so grateful to have you all on here. And obviously you all know why we are on here, for the amazing Yan Sneed, who is just an incredible force in the music industry and has been doing some amazing music curation, has been putting us on to great music, has been a force to be reckoned with at Pandora in the music industry. And I'm just so grateful to be joined by you, Yan. I know this is our first time actually seeing each other face to face, y'all. So as some of you are meeting her, I'm meeting her for the first time too. We talked many times on the internet, but you all know how that is with social media. So
having me. Thank you so much.
yeah, I'm going to spotlight the both of us so that y'all can see us. So let me just do that really quickly. Can you all see the both of us really clearly? Just give me a thumbs up if y'all can see us. Okay, cool. Awesome. So I'm Alexi, your host. I hope all of you know me by now. And if you haven't, then I hope I get to meet all of you a little bit later. But we're really grateful to have Yan on. This is our first time doing a music programming talk. We've done a lot of music curation ones, but we haven't had any music programmers. So Yan, you're really special today. But yeah, I would love for you to just give us a little rundown of what you do at Pandora, and then we can go into some questions, and then towards the end we can do a little Q&A. So maybe you could give us a little bit about your backstory.
So my backstory is interestingly enough, like kind of all over the place. So I hate people ask me like, how did you get here? Because I couldn't really give you a direct line.
Mm-hmm.
But in college, I was a podcast host. I was doing a lot of podcasting in hip hop space, across Jersey, Philly, New York, which kind of got me in the door as far as just connecting with a bunch of different professionals across the industry. Like I know Joe at Audio Mac, we met and became friends like very early on Audio Mac days when they first launched, which is how I got a contract or playlisting with them.
Mm-hmm.
So through the podcast, I met this production company called Zinnerland. So we used to do a lot of hip hop and R&B events. We had a monthly, well, actually, it was weekly and then it became monthly. Open mic we used to do, which is what we partnered with Audio Mac on. So we would have like a featured artist, and then everyone else could sign up to do open mic after the artist performs. We did Good People Link Up, which was really popular in the city for a minute, where we would just have a bunch of different music professionals and artists pull up and present on like what they're doing, what they're trying to do, what they're trying to connect with, for like the first half of the event, and then the rest was literally just a mixer. We did a lot of stuff, and it actually was a really great time. But it kind of just was like my entryway into the industry and kind of just meeting a bunch of people and getting connected.
Mm-hmm.
So we were partnering with a lot of people, and we were hosting a lot of content, because essentially what it was, if you think of like like Complex, where they have all these different content series,
Mm-hmm.
we had a website where we would host other people's content in addition to the content that we were producing, and these were like short films, short form like music content. So these were like literal shows. Like we hosted, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with like Cleverly Chloe. We hosted her show. Funny Julius had a show with us. We had a series with Combat Jack, rest in peace. So we did a lot. And from there, I kind of got picked up by this nonprofit totally outside of music called Katal.
Mm-hmm.
And they needed somebody to do their social media management and content. So they hired us to create the content, and they needed somebody to roll it out. So I offered to do it through Dinnerland, which ends up landing me that role there as their head of communications. So for 3 years, I was working in the nonprofit sector, working on criminal justice reform.
Mm-hmm.
While I was there, we were able to pass Less is More New York into law, which essentially reduces the amount of things that parole officers can reincarcerate you for once you are released.
Mm-hmm.
So I did all the branding, I did the website, all the merchandise, pretty much the entire design for the campaign, social media rollout. And it was like really meaningful work, but it was never anything I was super passionate about because it wasn't music. And ultimately, I always wanted to work in music.
Mm-hmm.
However, at that point, I was fresh out of college, and I needed a salary.
Yeah.
So it was just like, well, I can learn from this, because these are tools that you're always going to use throughout every role. Like even now, I'm using the graphic design stuff to kind of build out playlist campaigns and kind of come up with concepts for different playlist ideas for Pandora, as well as just like knowing how to market this stuff online so that it gets on everyone's radar once I do put this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So that takes me into the pandemic. So once the pandemic hit, when I was at Qatar, I think the first month of the pandemic, we didn't know it was COVID. It was just like this flu going around.
Mm-hmm.
And I had actually caught it then, like before it was a thing. And it took me out of work for an entire month. I had came back literally the week before lockdown started, once they named it. And I still just felt like it knocked the wind out of me. So I was just like, I think I still can't work. And then the next week they're like, oh, well, it's COVID. You guys got to stay home, blah, 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 blah. So from there, I was like, well, if we gotta stay home, then I'm moving to LA. So I ended up moving to LA, top of the pandemic, which probably wasn't the smartest move, but I always wanted to live there. Like for me, it was a dream since I was in like high school.
Yeah.
I used to be a tennis player. I wanted to play for USC, and it just didn't work out. So once I got to LA, transparently, I was unemployed for 2 years. Nothing ended up connecting the entire time I was there. So I was doing Instacart and just pulling up to sessions, working with artists on the side rather than a formal music role.
Mm-hmm.
However, the entire time I was there, and even beyond before that, I was always working on my own side projects adjacent to the music industry, even when I was in the Qatar role.
Mm-hmm.
So like I was playlisting for Audio Max through the Qatar role and into the pandemic. always making playlists, always coming up with different content ideas, always pulling up my artists to help vocal produce or help write with their music. So it's always been a thing. It just was never formal for me ever. But then one of my friends, she was just like, "Hey, I saw this role at Pandora. Think you'd be great for it," because I was playlisting at the time. And I had one conversation with Akeem and it was a go from there. So I actually stayed in LA for about 2 months while I was there, but it just didn't make sense salary wise. So I ended up moving back to Jersey to work out of the New York office, and now I'm here.
Hey, yeah, and you have been active even when you weren't active in the music industry. You were always active in the music industry. I remember towards I don't know, maybe 2021 is when I really started seeing a lot of your stuff online. And one of the reasons why, well, this is to the audience. One of the reasons why I brought Ian on here is because she is one of those people who really, not only, like Ariana said, rhymes, she is one of those people who really appreciates great music and just does it for the love of music. And I think sometimes we all get caught up in the clout of the music industry and a lot of the ego driven things, but there are still really incredible people who put on great music and love the music industry for what it should be, which is music. And that was why I had to bring you on here today. It was because, I mean, one, I love your music choice, and two, I just think that it's really incredible that you're able to maintain that humility in the music industry, because it is hard for a lot of folks. Like a lot of us do get caught up in the numbers. I mean, granted, those are important too, but at the end of the day, we do this for the love of the art. So yeah, and I just got to give you your flowers for that, because I appreciate you for that part of art, that part of you.
Yeah, like music has always been my thing. Like my dad put me in piano lessons at 3, dance lessons at 3. So it's like I've always been a performer. Then in high school, I was in a jazz band, jazz choir, the gospel choir at church. I always wanted to be in music. But then once I got to college, I went for voice, and then I quickly realized, like, I don't actually want to do this. The amount of, which is why I actually, like, I have this high respect for artists, because I don't think people think about how much time you have to commit to actually being an artist and like the ins and outs of it to be successful in music. Like studio is like nonstop for those who are, like, if you're really trying to make a career, this stuff it doesn't stop. And there's times where you go in like 3-4 o'clock and you're not leaving till 1 or 2, and it's like I couldn't do that personally. And once I realized that's what it was, it's like, girl, you're not going to be an artist. And I didn't want to be either. And I think that's, for me, it was dope because I always had the artist experience that I could channel through my programming. But I didn't have the chip on my shoulder where it's like I'm a failed artist that now is kind of like gatekeeping other artists out of positions because I didn't have my career launch. For me, I didn't want to do it anymore because it just didn't make sense. So I just feel like I'm always going to be a huge fan first. And I think I saw somebody say it on Twitter too, like a lot of us get in the industry and we forget you have to be a fan always, like, because once you lose like that fan ear, you kind of just wash yourself out of the industry, and then your point kind of becomes, or not your point, but your taste kind of becomes biased and boring because you're not a fan anymore. So I'm always going to be passionate. But I appreciate you pointing that out. Thank you.
Yeah, there's this song out, I think it's by Sabrina Carpenter, called Espresso, where the part of the song that went viral is the "I'm working late because I'm a singer," that part. And I was thinking, thank God I'm not a singer because I don't work that late. There are days, where we do have to work late, but
that is not going to be my lifestyle.
I tried recording twice. I was like, this is not for me. So I appreciate all of you artists that are in this crowd, because I know how hard y'all work. Well, yeah, I wanted to ask you, so you worked on really incredible projects. You have put on some of the top Caribbean and African artists that now we know about in America. And I truly do believe some of the reasons why we know about these artists is because of some of the curation that you've done. So I want to know, what are some of the favorite projects that you worked on, or what are some of your proudest projects that you've worked on? And they could be at Pandora or outside of Pandora.
I would say Coco Jones. I know that this is not because I work alongside Akeem Bryant programming R&B, and then I lead African and Caribbean. But that came later in the role. Like when I first started Pandora, it was just strictly R&B. So when I first came into the space, Coco Jones had I don't even think the show was out yet. I think she had just started, like a couple episodes came out. And then she floated her first single, Caliber. And I really to this day, like Caliber was a hit. I don't care what nobody say. But Caliber came out and it kind of came and went. And I believe Pandora was the highest streaming DSP for that single in particular, because at that point I was like, we got to get behind her. No one really was feeling it. Like I'm gonna be honest, like when I was pitching it to members of our team, they were kind of just like, it's cool. And then when we finally got the listening link for the EP, or her debut album, and even that, I got a lot of, it's cool. And it's just like, there's like 3 hits on here, y'all. Like, what are we talking about? So we decided to get behind ICU. And then a year later, we have 25% market share in that single in particular. And it's now Grammy Award winning. So I think it's not even necessarily the success of the song that I'm proud of, because I don't want to take credit for any of that, but I will say I am proud that every time I lean into the things that I think are going to break, they always do. Like I can't think of a single artist that I said was going to break that hasn't. Another example of that is Jordan Ward. So top of last year, I had put out a 10 artists to watch for last year going into this year, and he was at the top of the list. He had already had like some buzz on Spotify, but nobody was really talking about Jordan Ward the way that they are now. And it's really crazy. We gave him his first cover. And then like all these different editorial looks, we really got behind him heavily on the programming side. And then it's just crazy to see a year later, like he's everywhere. And then even like I remember I had posted like Smino, or Jordan Ward is to R&B, but Smino is to hip hop. And then a couple months later, he's on his tour. So it's just like, it's dope to just see my ideas and my tastes kind of like really play out in the field. Like I've never, like I hate to be that person, but I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Like I have to talk my shit. I'm not wrong. It is what it is. And I'm really proud of that, because for 8 years, like I kept applying for these music industry jobs. Like I was trying to be an A&R, kept getting dubbed. And then even with curation, I could never find a role because it's so hush hush. I didn't even know what to look for. Like most people don't realize when you're looking for a programming role, it's not called, for most, I think it might be first a while ago, it was playlisting when you look it up, but now it's not called like playlister or playlist curator. It's called programmer. And if you're not in tune with that community, you would have no clue what to look up for these roles. Like what is the programming? When I see programming on a job ad, I'm thinking like, this is some super tech, like back-end analytics or something. Like I'm not going to think programmer is the person who is curating the playlist. So it's just, exactly. You think of radio, like it doesn't, to me, I'm not, as a playlist curator, I'm not looking up programming. So I kind of just like, I felt like I was kind of X out of the industry for a really long time. And then I would just see a lot of my ideas that I would post about, or the ideas that I would literally share as like finalized, or not ideas, but concepts and content. I would see just bits and pieces of in other people's stuff that were in the industry. And it was just like, so y'all can do that, but y'all can't hire me. So it was just such a blessing when I finally got to the Pandora role, and like a lot of the things that I've been saying are right, because it's like I've been right for 8 years. So it's hard for me not to like, I have shit now.
No, that's good. And I think that's really important for folks to know about too, is like you have to trust your gut instinct. I think that's one of your, I guess, expertise areas, is you really do trust your gut in the work that you do. But how do you trust your gut? Like, what is it? when do you know that an artist's song is going to be a hit, or is it just you feel it, like you're just listening to music and you're like, oh, this, I'm feeling this song today? Like, how do you know? What's your process with choosing a song to playlist?
So for playlisting, it doesn't necessarily have to be a hit, but for heavily getting behind it to potentially push it to be a hit, it's a combination of things. So like at first, obviously it is just listening, and there's a feeling. Like I think music is feeling. And if a song does not invoke any kind of feeling from you outside of this is a vibe, then it's probably not a hit. And it's actually one of the reasons why I hate the word vibes. It gets used too often, but then it's like I'm not really mad at it, because a lot of music really is just vibes. Like it's not really much more than that. There's nothing. That's not to say it's bad music, but they're not hits in particular. So once I feel something from a song, then I start just looking on the internet and seeing like, are people talking about this song? Like, how do people feel about the artist? Does this artist have a community rallying behind them? Then I'll pull up to shows. Like there's a lot of different show opportunities that they have, like whether it be like a small show, a bigger show, they're headlining for somebody, or not headlining, opening for somebody. Just to see like the crowd reaction. Unironically though, one thing I will say, sometimes you really do have to just go by your gut. And it's not always how crowds react to music, because what I've noticed, maybe in hip hop is different, but I know in R&B, I remember when it was years ago, Aaron Ray had really great music, and I don't feel like the crowd reacted in a way where you would think this is great music, but it was. And now years later, Aaron Ray is having a moment. So I just feel like if the audience isn't super familiar with an R&B artist, sometimes, or an R&B artist, sometimes they won't really react much, especially depending on the city you're in, because some cities are a little bit harder of a crowd. Like I know New York in particular, like if they don't know you, you're not going to get much more than like a sway. And then I know in other cities it might be a little bit more lit because they just have a different energy. So I don't try to lean too heavily into that, because sometimes they just need to get familiar with the song, and then once they hear it again at another event or another performance, then you'll see the energy. So for me, it's heavily just how I feel about, like, how does this song make you feel? And are people engaging with this in a way that kind of shows that this will probably be something later? Like I know one song in particular, what is that song? NLE Chopper. It's not R&B, excuse me, but it is, what is this? I can't think of my song. NLE Chopper. Hold on. Let me look it up real quick. It's kind of going viral now. Slut Me Out Too. I'm like blinking, but Slut Me Out Too. Slut Me Out Too. So the funny thing about that, the first time I saw the song, like, or heard it, yeah, Slut Me Out Too. So when I heard it, naturally, like, I'm gonna just be honest, like, it's not something I would probably first choose to put on. Like, this, it's not my kind of music because it's so vulgar. But when I saw him perform it, and even the crowd kind of was like dead. Like when I saw him perform it, I forgot what show that was, but the crowd was very dead. But something about it and the way he performed it, like I was like, this is gonna be a hit. Like it just sounded like a hit to me. And then even just like the catchiness of it, it just sounds like it's gonna be a big song. Then he walked out all like, which I knew that was gonna be a moment, because that it's viral. There's virality that can be attached to that kind of stuff. And now fast forward, you're starting to see like that shit is everywhere. And a lot of it is attached to like these little pieces of the performance that he's making viral, and he's doing it on the video now, and he's kind of leaning into it and showing his feminine side, and like then leaning into that even more and explaining how he's like, I'm masculine, but I'm cool with my femininity. I'm not, it doesn't mean that I'm homosexual. And that's a whole thing in itself. Like there's just all these different pieces to it. And I just feel like you kind of just gotta feel it. Like when I saw the song, I just like, oh, this is kind of fire. And now that shit is out of here.
Everybody's making memes of it now, and it's all over the place. You have you do a really good job, I think, of combining your social media expertise and your digital marketing experience with being boots on the ground, and having that ear for the streets, because I think one of the things in this music industry that's really important is being able to have that balance. Like you need to be able to understand the data and the analytics and what's going on in the community online, but you also need to have your feet on the ground and be able to listen to good music. How often are you going to shows, and like what shows do you typically pop out to?
So I would say 2 to 3 times a month. And it's more so because of like full transparency. It's literally just it's hard to afford all these shows.
Mhm.
People think that as programmers, well, I can't speak for other DSPs, but people think as programmers, like we just make all this money and we can just afford to do everything because we work in the music industry. Like I don't get paid that much. So frankly, like if it's not a low cost show or I'm not being provided tickets or a name on the guest list, like it's hard to be at everything.
Yep.
The other thing too is a lot of stuff is in New York, so maybe the show's affordable, but I'm from Trenton, so Trenton to New York, that's not cheap. And just traveling around, so it's like I try to get to at least 2 to 3 a month. And they're usually R&B shows, more so because that is the space that I'm working in. So I do want to be super connected in the space that is my specialty. And occasionally I'll go to a rap show. I will say I love rap music, started in rap music. Ironically, most people don't know that. So I actually started in hip hop. But I have to honestly say, like, hip hop shows are not really my vibe. Like I can listen to it at home and fuck with it, but I'm not really like I don't want to really be at a hip hop show. It's not really me, to be honest.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Are you going to a lot more independent artist shows, or are you going to more A-list artist type shows?
Definitely more independent.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, definitely more independent. Only because one, I'm trying, a lot of times I feel like my role is helping to break some of these artists. So I don't want to get behind artists that I can't vouch for their performance.
Yeah.
Me personally, I'm not doing too much for an artist that does not have a good show. Like you do need to be able to sing well. Granted, you can work on it. Like I don't expect an artist to be super polished when I'm pulling up to these shows, because I know like perfect example, Kamari is signed, but he is very, very, very new to being an artist. Like he's not somebody that's been doing music for a long time. And he's honest about that. And his show, I thought it was really great because he could sing really well, but there are things that he can work on as like a performer. Like I know I was talking to his manager, and he's actively working on stage presence. Like that's one of his things right now, just trying to make sure that his stage presence is polished. And I think he's doing it the right way, because he's doing all these little shows across the country in front of smaller audiences so that he can perfect his stage performance. And that's how you're supposed to do it. And then once you kind of like figure out what you want to do in your smaller sets with these smaller crowds and the intimate crowds, you can then take all the good stuff out of that and then do them on a bigger stage. And so that kind of stuff, like I love to see, because then it's like, I remember when you was doing this show at Baby's All Right versus now you headlining MSG. So I love going to the smaller shows. And like I said, I like the small, like I'm an intimate person, which is also why I like the smaller independent shows. Because that's more my vibe.
Yeah. You know, one thing I really love about just watching your career is when you help an artist out and you playlist them and you put them on to different types of people, they show love back. And I think that speaks a lot to the kind of work that you do and how much of a difference you are actually making in some of these artists' lives. Because I was on one of your posts a while back or something. I think you posted about Fabo, or you playlisted Fabo.
Oh my God. I love
yeah, and Fabo was commenting like, "Thank you so much, Ian," or something like that. And I was just thinking that speaks a lot to the work that you're doing. So, I mean, you obviously have a great ear, but you're putting a lot, or changing people's lives in the way that you are breaking a lot of these artists, or at least giving them love in a way where they feel like they can make it. So, yeah, and you're awesome. I'm so glad we have you on.
I really appreciate that. I think it's a lot of times it's because I make these relationships personal. Which is why you're seeing that. So I know, like, it isn't standard, so I don't think it's expected of programmers to create relationships with the artists. A lot of the times, PSPs have talent reps in place to kind of be the buffer between artist team and curator, so that the curator is not overwhelmed by having to manage all those relationships and deal with having to reject some of them. But I know for me personally, like I've always wanted to just be as tapped in as possible, because it just like that's what it means to me. Like that's special for me personally. So we do have IF reps, we have artist relation reps, but I would prefer to have my own relationship, so that if I need anything or if they need anything, they can hit me directly. They don't have to worry about going around this person or that person to get something from me. So what you're seeing a lot of time is the result of a lot of these artists I have on text threads. Like I'm talking to the artist, I don't talk to the team. So we're literally friends.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to open the floor up to questions in just a second, but before that, I want to ask you, what was one of your favorite interviews and why?
Like my personal or of an artist? Oh,
or your personal, like your personal, or no, sorry, you're of an artist, someone you've interviewed.
Okay, I don't know, it's funny because you said him. I would honestly say probably Fabo is my favorite, only because when I interviewed Fabo we did him on Trap Soul to feature his album that released last year, and at that point we weren't actually that tight. We were just cool on social. And my perception of him on social was like, he just seemed like too cool for school, and he just always had a slick remark for everything. Like, and that wasn't even a bad thing. Like, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
But definitely put him in that box. Like, he's an artist that you definitely don't want to say some slick shit to, because he's gonna he'll be right back at you on the timeline, and
he's gonna say something.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know what his vibe is. So I just expected him naturally to, when I interviewed him, I thought he was just gonna be this too cool, didn't really have much to say. Because that's how a lot of these artists are like that. They don't really want to talk much when you get them in the room, and it's just like, all right, well, I don't know what I can do with this. But he was like the complete opposite of everything that I expected him to be, and he was super vulnerable, shared a lot of heavy stories with me for that interview. And the conversation, I think it ended up being like a cool hour and a half combo, when those combos usually only last about 45 minutes. And it was just, I think it was one of my favorites because he opened himself up for our audience to be able to really get to know him in a way that if you just followed him on Twitter, you wouldn't. So whoever did listen to that interview, I'm sure they learned a lot, because I definitely did.
Nice. I'm glad that I saw that interview then, as I didn't know much about Fabo beforehand.
Yeah, he shared a lot. I was just like, holy shit. Okay.
Cool. Well, I'm going to open up the floor to questions. We've got about 38 people on here. We've also got 8 people right now. We had about 30 to 40 people pop in and out of the Instagram live. I've got my phone over on this side, y'all, so you can't really see it. But if you all have questions, feel free to raise your hand, and you can go ahead and unmute yourself when I call on you. So I see Ijeoma. If you want to ask a question, go for it.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Hey, thanks so much for picking on me. I didn't know that anyone noticed me. My name's Ijeoma. I'm from New Jersey. I'm from Central Jersey, Piscataway, around New Brunswick area. So it's really great that you're having this event. Followed Yun for a while online, so I'm really appreciative to be here. My first question is, how do you, for the panelists, how do you develop your instinct over time? Like every day, there are new artists breaking, there are new trends going on. Like, how do you discern from like what you like and versus like what you might think is, something that a lot of people are like, a sound a lot of people are having, or a style a lot of people have? Like, how do you discern like an artist that's unique and really compelling, whether or not they have a smash hit or not? So maybe you think they have something like bubbling or really interesting about them, but they aren't there yet. Like, how do you kind of make that determination? And outside of that, as a person who has your instincts and your experience, how do you navigate identifying places where you find community and support, especially as a Black woman. So I've been through that as a person who's worked in government for a long time, who's transitioning as a creative. So that's why I'm here. But I'm always wondering how, seasoned creatives like yourself do that in more artsy spaces. That's it.
Thank you. So I would say, as far as like when I'm trying to discern what to really support versus what is just gonna come and go, it's really the details, right? Like there's artists who will maybe drop a good song and they'll share it maybe once or twice. And then there's other artists who, for months and months and months, they're still trying to find new ways and different ways to promote that same song in addition to releasing more music, or maybe they're doing more interviews, more content. Also for me, it's really just like this artist versus that artist. It's just the skill level, right? Like because I work in R&B, there's this heavy, like you do need to be able to sing. Like for me personally, like I know there is a space for artists who don't necessarily need to be able to sing super well, but I do think you should be able to sing if you want to have longevity in this space. And I'm looking to break artists that will have longevity rather than just a hit or two. So I guess for me, because we have so many different offerings on Pandora, the way that I can kind of like navigate that is for artists who have an RA or good sound, we have smaller programming offerings that I could place them on to still give them space to build a community around their music, but maybe it doesn't necessarily go as far. But I do think we still should be providing opportunities to artists at different levels of their career. But then the songs that score well on those stations, we will take a deeper look into those and then find bigger placements for them. And essentially, it's kind of just like a strategic placement kind of process that we do. So for example, let's say I find you on Spotify or Twitter or wherever, maybe you have 100 monthly listeners, but the songs are really good. So I will put you on maybe like an indie R&B, which doesn't necessarily have more than 1 million spins a week. So that station has a lot of songs on it. So you might get maybe 10 to 15 spins for that week. And people who listen to it can score the song with thumbs ups and thumbs down, skip rates, like all that goes into consideration for the score for that song. And if the scores look good, then I'll move them along to maybe like all R&B station, if it fits that station, which has a little bit more listeners than indie R&B. And essentially it's just like we keep kind of placing you in these different buckets until the score either grows or gets worse. And if it gets worse, then we just stop programming it and just kind of leave it on indie R&B and let it just spin there. And then after about 6 months, we take it off if it doesn't do well. But then for the better artists, or not better artists, but the ones who perform better, that's when I start looking at like, well, what show, like, are they doing performances? How often are you doing performances? Do you have visuals for your songs? Does your social accounts look like an artist, or does it look like somebody who does music as a hobby? And I think people don't think that that's important, but it is. And it's like, I hate to depend so heavily on social media, but it is your portfolio in a sense. So if you're an artist and your whole Instagram account is selfies, like how serious are you? And I understand that stuff costs money, but there's ways around it. Like maybe you have a friend who you can get to take photos of you, and then just put them on like good photos. They don't even have to necessarily be a whole photo shoot, but you can take good photos on the iPhone. And I just feel like some people think they're serious artists and they haven't really done that deep look into themselves to really like, are you really doing the work to be a serious artist, or is this just something that you're having fun with and is a hobby for you, which is not a problem. But I think as a programmer, at the end of the day, this is a business, and I can't put too much of my intention and energy into artists who are not serious, because at the end of the day, this stuff affects the bottom line. Like if we're programming stuff that isn't going to go anywhere, then it's like, well, what are y'all doing? Like we like, where are these artists going? Because these DSPs are looking to be able to say, we broke this artist and this artist is here now. So if you're an artist who is not as serious about making sure your mix sounds good, or your visual presentation looks good, your visuals look good, like, do you have a bio on your Spotify? I see that all the time. Like I go to people's Spotify, there's no socials link, there's no bio, like you're not serious. And stuff like that is real quick fix. And I think for me, that's how I'm discerning like who's serious versus who's not. And that's not to say good versus bad. Like you can be a semi-unserious artist because this is a hobby for you and the music is still really good. But I, as a programmer in the music industry, can't do much with that because this is a business. So I guess I hope that answers your question. It's for me, it's like, to sum it up, it's really just the details. Like what are they doing? What do the details look like for them to separate themselves from somebody who's just doing this as a hobby, as a hobby versus someone who's trying to make this a long-term career. And I help the people who are trying to make this a career. And then as far as finding community, like I have to be real transparent. Like I personally have not found my community yet. So I couldn't really give you too much advice there. Like I'm literally like I haven't really done much in the last 3 years as far as like being in the mix because of the pandemic. And then I was in a relationship that a whole nother story. So it just was like I didn't really want to be too mixy. So I'm literally like refinding myself now since I would say last fall. And I think for me, it's literally just been tapping into some of these relationships that I've built on social media. Like some of these women I follow, I've been following for years. And it's always been like, oh, we should link up. So now I'm like, really, we should link up for real. So I'm finding friendships that way or like going to different mixers. Like I know in New York, there's a lot of different like parties and venues that are Black owned that you could go to. Like I know the Record Room is like a really cool vibe and it's Black, I believe it's Black owned, and a lot of Black people come there after work to just chill, listen to like vinyl sets. So I'm just trying to find stuff like that and pulling up to and then just seeing who I can meet. But outside of that, I don't really have much advice there, transparently.
Oh, if anyone has been a part of any Black owned communities or knows of any, feel free to drop them in the chat. But hopefully we'll get more tapped in with some in the music industry. Cool. Ijama, thank you for asking your questions. We have Bernard, Allison, and then Bethany. Yana, I know we're getting up on
It's
1
fine. We
o'clock.
can run a little bit over. It's fine.
Okay, cool. So Bethany has the last question, but Bernard, you're up, and then Allison.
Well, what I gotta say ain't even really a question. I was really just kind of piggybacking off of the NLE Chopper statement because like when he dropped it too, like when the song came on, like it was a vibe. Like I don't know if y'all ever seen Night at the Roxbury, like the Will Ferrell movie, but like it was just like that. You know what I'm saying? And like from a male perspective, I understood the song. You know what I'm saying? Because I mean, shit, if I was you, I mean, yeah, you know, like so like I knew I kind of felt like that was going to be a hit in like the party scene and the party vibe, like for the festival music, but maybe it wouldn't stick in somewhere like a Memphis hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because like they're kind of in their own box. So definitely like, you know, I was just kind of like piggybacking off of like, you know, there's a feel when it comes to the music. Like there's songs that make me cry that like, you know, hey, this might go just because it makes me feel a way. So I'm pretty sure it'll make somebody else feel this way too. You know what I'm saying? So I try to use that genuine discernment when I'm doing hip hop and everything like that, because there's a certain amount of soul that you want to keep in the hip hop realm, just like R&B. You feel?
Yep. 1000%.
Cool. Thank you for elaborating on that, Bernard, because I think that a lot of times, and well, that goes off of what Yan was saying also about being detail oriented and paying attention to those paying attention to those details, because it tells us a lot about patterns and whether or not something is gonna do well. Because if you see that already from the jump, these artists are not, you know, they're not on some of those little details that actually matter, or it's not taking off on Instagram at all, or on TikTok, then I mean, there's no guarantee that it can't take off on Pandora or it can't take off on another platform. But sometimes it does show us, you know, like if this person's not promoting it that frequently, who's to say that it's going to get a lot of visibility on another platform? So that's again where the instinct comes from, because our instincts are from us recognizing these patterns in the music industry and outside of the music industry too. Cool. Allison, you're up.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Allie.
Hey.
Hey.
I come on too if you could see me too.
We missed you.
Hey,
I haven't seen
I'm
you in so
good.
long. Oh my
I know. I'll be back outside soon. I'll be back outside. But yeah, I just came on to support you guys. But yeah, questions I did have was what's your take on music like discovery like today now like the digital era? Because I know like when we essentially too like even when like we first started it was like so different and like you mentioned previously about like virality with like social media and like um that kind of way. So I guess like what's your take on it now and like moving forward?
I think music discovery is in such a great place right now. I actually wish Pandora would lean into, as far as like their brand messaging, that we do a lot of discovery, because essentially we're literally creating stations with like hundreds of songs that you can discover artists with. That's another story. But I feel like the field is in a great place because of audience segmentation, right? Like you have, if you go to Spotify, you can find in the R&B genre, for example, over like 50 different playlists, and it's just like all these different subgenres. So there's so many different places for your music to now live, whereas before you were a lot more boxed into maybe 3 or 4 different subgenres rather than 7 or 8, right? Like alternative R&B wasn't a playlist before, but it was a sound that existed, but we would just put it in maybe mellow R&B and now we have all these different like categorizations of songs based on feel, back to that feel thing, to where if you figure out what your niche is as an artist, there's so many opportunities now because of all these different playlisting opportunities that we have available on all these different DSPs, because we're leaning into subgenres so that we can discover more. So I think it's a blessing and a curse because it creates more opportunities, right? As far as there's all these different places where your music could now live because we are leaning into all these different feelings that the music gives us. However, on the flip side, what happens is naturally the audience gets segmented. So before, maybe you had 5 huge playlists, which is why Spotify before in the past, you could break an artist, like really break an artist off of a Spotify placement. But now it's not really that anymore. Like you have to do the playlist plus everything else. And that's because those bigger playlists have been broken down. The audience is segmented now into all these different smaller playlists to give you more options, but now those smaller playlists have smaller audiences. So it's kind of harder to break artists now because everything is so segmented, rather than it just being 1 or 2 different spots where if you made it there, then you were out of here. But I don't think that's a bad thing because it kind of creates longevity for you. Like now you know your niche and you don't have to necessarily create music to fit whatever this mode is for this playlist or this opportunity or this platform. Like now, if I'm an alt artist, I can just stick to making alt music. I don't have to like live in the pop lane to get a hit, or I don't have to do trap soul so that y'all will playlist my music. I can stay in my alt bag and thrive there and continue building and building and building, because those fans are going to keep coming back to those destinations to hear that kind of music. So I don't really think it's a bad thing, but I do think it makes it harder to be discovered because there's so many offerings now. But I feel like it reflects the times, because the barrier to entry now, as far as like making music, is pretty much gone for the most part. So with that much music, naturally we need more places for it. But then it gets hard for you to break through because there's so much of it and so many different offerings to find it, if that makes sense.
Cool. Thanks, Ali, for joining. So good to see you on here. I just dropped in the chat a few different Black women in music with different orgs that you all can check out. I was trying to come up with a couple, but I'm also trying to pay attention to Yan speaking. So so hopefully that helps some of y'all get connected. There are a ton more that I'm sure I could think of later, but if you also check out our YouTube, we've had some really great Black women in music show up to our events and be a part of our guests. So feel free to check those folks out. Bethany, you are up.
Hello, thank you so much, Yan, for being here today. My question is, what is your opinion on and experience with algorithms and the growth of AI?
Ooh, so my experience with algorithms at Pandora in particularly, we have the ability to algorithmically program, which is more so where you get into the strategy of it all. And that's actually my bag, to be honest. Like that's where my bread and butter is, the algorithm stuff, which is how I'm helping these artists break through. So what we can do is, I don't know if you've ever used Pandora, but we have editorial stations, which are like your new R&B, R&B soul, alternative R&B. Then you have artist seeds, which are Mariah Carey radio, Chris Brown radio. Like every artist has a radio station. The more mainstream the artist, the bigger the station is, like as far as listenership. So for example, like a Chris Brown radio probably has 2 to 3 million listeners a week, versus like a Mariah the Scientist might have maybe 300,000 a week, or not, yeah, 300,000 a week. So what we can do is, based on sound, feel, and just different properties, as far as like on the production of the song, we can place songs on these artist seeds that we feel fit the seed, so that that song spins first on that station whenever a listener goes to it. So let's say, like if a Chris Brown drops, obviously because it's his music, we're gonna pin his stuff to his seed automatically. But for example, a Fabo, I don't know if you've ever heard his music, but Fabo's music fits in that trap soul box with Chris Brown. So if he drops a song, I can pin his song to the Chris Brown seed. When you go to Chris Brown's station, the first thing you hear is the new Fabo song. So now we're putting you in front of all of their listeners on top of whatever other editorial support we give you. And what happens is, the algorithm, based on their completion rate, as far as like if people are skipping it or spinning it entirely through, your thumb up and thumb down. So if you thumb up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. So our system kind of like creates a score for songs based off of all those things combined. And based on that score, it'll keep playing the song on the station, or it'll lessen the amount of times the song gets spun on the station. So what we are trying to do is find songs that closely align with these stations so that the scores are high. And then that'll also kind of like, we use that to decide if we're going to also place it on bigger editorials. So it's kind of like a circle of strategy, if that makes sense. Like where are the best stations or seeds where this will fit? And then if it does well on these seeds, then we'll put it on bigger stations. And then as far as AI, we have not leaned into AI yet at Pandora in the way that other DSPs have. And honestly, I'm not mad at that. I'm personally am not a supporter of AI in the music space as far as the creation goes. Like if we're using AI for like admin, like let's say we use AI to analyze music, and put like different tags on it, then I guess that's cool. But even then, I still feel like you do need a human touch, because there's some times where I see an R&B song tagged with hip hop stuff and it's not a hip hop song. So now you have this song potentially going to spin in hip hop destinations where it shouldn't be, which will affect the score, because if I'm a hip hop listener, I don't want to hear Mariah Carey, if that makes sense. So I'm very iffy about AI in the music space, because I think music is all about feeling. And once you take away feeling from music, it's real murky waters. And then you see everything happening with like this beef with Drake, and it's just like, it's kind of lacks integrity. So personally, I'm not really jacking it. I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to say too much.
That whole AI beef with Drake, actually, that whole beef in general is something else.
Yeah, like now everybody has to remove their song. We need to just pack that one up and move on, because
yeah, exactly. Now everybody's trying to beef. Now DaBaby has someone's going to DaBaby to ask him to create some fake beef. You got everybody beefing for no reason. Cool. Well, Shawnee said it's exhausting. That's how we feel. Cool. Well, I think that wraps us up with all of the questions. Yan, my last question to you would just be, what is some advice that you would give to, I guess it's going to be two pieces, because we have some folks who are music industry or aspiring music industry executives. We have some folks who are early stage in their executive careers, and we also have some artists and producers in here. So what is some advice that you would give to artists that are trying to build up their career in the music industry? And what is some advice that you would give to some aspiring music industry executives?
So for artists, I would say number one, like just give yourself way more grace. If you're not giving yourself grace at all, give yourself more. If you are giving yourself grace, still give yourself more. Because I feel like it's really hard. As easy as it may seem to break in music, people think it's just you go viral and now you're a star. It's really hard. And there's people who you probably have a hit in your catalog, but until people hear it, it's not a hit technically. And I feel like artists give up on their music way too soon because the initial reaction to it or the numbers on it do not look in the way that they want them to look, right? So like you drop your song, maybe you get 1,000 spins. That doesn't mean that in 2 years that same song can't be a hit. Like it's really just a matter of getting more eyes on your, or more ears rather, on your music and what you're trying to do. And a lot of that is on you. Like I feel like you can't put too much emphasis on the curator. Like I say this all the time. I did a panel like a couple weeks ago, and the first thing I said was like, stop worrying about relationships with curators. Like we are not your audience. Your audience is those people who are going to keep listening to your music. And I can never talk to you ever in life. And if I see that the audience likes your stuff, I'm going to program it. You don't have to know me. And then beyond that, it's like I might not be in this seat a year from now. So if you build a relationship with me, what does that matter in a year? Like now you have to build a new relationship with another curator, but who will always be there are your fans. So you need to make sure that a fan a day, like keep building your community and finding different ways to kind of get mixy, whether that be creating content, or even if it's like maybe you're doing cross collaborations with other artists, like find other artists to work with who also either have similar or different audiences than you and do music with them, cross promote, and now you're growing your music in that way. And I see that all the time, but I don't see enough people doing it. Or even like writers, work with writers because they also have communities. So you release a song with a writer, then they take, oh, I wrote this song and it's out now, blah, 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 blah. Now you have their fans checking you out because they wrote on your song. But I just feel like give yourself grace because nothing happens overnight. And that's so cliche, but it's so true. And I think I had to give myself grace because like I said, like it took me 8 years to get into a curation role, like 8 years of working in music just to be a coordinator. Like, and coordinator's bottom of the bottom. So it's like you have to humble yourself and stay passionate about this shit because it takes a minute sometimes. Like it's not a cakewalk for everybody. Whether you are a musician or an exec. And also just stay true to your vision too. Like I feel like what I see with artists a lot is in that same vein, you don't see your music performing on the number side early. So now it's like, oh, well, that means maybe the sound isn't what, like maybe I need to switch my sound. So now instead of staying true to your niche and what actually makes you as an artist, now you're dabbling in trap soul or melodic rap or all R&B, which is not even your bag, and we could feel it. Like it sounds bad to us because it doesn't have a feeling. It just sounds like somebody that's trying to do something catchy to break, and that stuff doesn't last. Because what happens is, let's say your song does break, right? Like let's say hypothetically you are at your heart, you're a neo-soul artist. You start dabbling in this all R&B space just because it's a trend, not necessarily because you genuinely want to do it. So you start dabbling in this all R&B space. Maybe a song catches wind. You now have an audience in this all R&B space. You decide to go back to neo soul. You have now neglected your entire audience that you built because it was fake. So now you are still starting from scratch because this audience does not want to hear neo soul. They want to hear all R&B. So it's so important that you stay true to your artistry and your vision for your music and just like what you see for your career. Because once you start doing the switching and flopping and doing all the things just to be trendy, fans can tell and they will neglect you. Like as soon as you do something they're not trying to hear, like now you're gonna have to start from scratch because you thought that you just was gonna do a trend to pop. Like if you're gonna do that, then you gotta stick to it. Yeah, that would be my advice for artists. Just stay true and give yourself grace. In a nutshell. And then I'm sorry, I'm like so long-winded.
No, that's good advice. I mean, if you look at the chat, everyone's saying preach.
As far as for execs, I think that's a hard one because it's like I'm gonna say keep your head down and grind. I don't like saying stay humble because that humble word to me gets used the wrong way a lot, and it's almost like don't talk your shit, don't be proud of the things you've done, stay in your place kind of energy behind stay humble when you hear it
Stay
in the music
quiet about
industry.
the work that
Yeah,
you
and it's
do.
like, actually, no, because why would I do that? Like, similar to being an artist, like what I've realized in today's era, maybe this wasn't the case before, but in today's era, opportunities come to those who take them. So if you don't know about the work I'm doing, then there's like, I'm not gonna be able to take anything because people just don't know what you're doing. And it's like, if that's your thing, like if you don't want to talk about the work and you're just kind of like stay low and build, then cool. But I will say, for a lot of us coming up now, it is harder to get opportunities when you're not sharing what you're doing. And my thing is like, if you're passionate about that work, then why not share? So I would just say, just keep doing the work because people are seeing it. Keep sharing your work and be loud about it. People are seeing it and they'll associate you with that. Like Pandora happened because I was loud about the work I was doing, and it was in the R&B space. So somebody said, you would be great for this role. If I didn't share my work, I wouldn't be at Pandora. I would still be probably out of a job because the job market is shit right now.
Yep.
Frankly. So yeah, I would just say that, like, just keep your head down and keep building and keep sharing your stuff, and don't get too caught up in the be humble stuff.
And I think that goes for both music industry execs and for artists too. And also, social media is not real, y'all. Just letting y'all remember that, or just reminding y'all that social media is not real. I mean, granted, those people, they're real people behind those computers and those phones, but in reality, the impact that you're gonna be making is more important for you to remember that the people in real life are your community. So even if you've got people on social media, granted, you know, we all are connected through social media here and through the internet, which is such a blessing that we're able to connect like this. Like I'm out here in Vegas right now and Yan's over in New Jersey, which is awesome. But just keep in mind, you know, the social media stuff, follower numbers, it's not the biggest thing in the world.
And that's actually a great point too, because kind of tying it to what I originally said, I feel like sometimes we get really intimidated by seeing what other people are doing on social. Or maybe like this person has 50,000 followers versus my 10K. So that must means that what they're doing is better than me, which would naturally make you feel like you need to humble yourself. But followers and everything, like, they're cool. Like, I have a lot, so I'm not gonna act like it's not. But it doesn't necessarily it doesn't validate you, right? Like, it doesn't mean that just because you have this many followers that the work is good. So you should still be sharing your work regardless of the followers, because it's still important. It doesn't mean it's bad work or it's not impactful work. And a lot of people that are doing the work aren't even on social, to be honest.
Yeah, and you could have 1 million followers and have 10,000 streams on your music. It doesn't
matter.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that we talked about that, because I think that's something that a lot of artists and even ourselves as execs, we run into that issue. Is like yeah, and you have 22,000 followers, but sometimes I'm sure you feel like you're alone in the music industry. I know I feel that way sometimes. And so, yeah, I am really grateful. I mean, now, Yan, when I'm out in New Jersey, or New York, we'll have to connect and we'll build community in real life. But thank you so much for, you know, chatting with us about your experience and for keeping it real always, not just in this event, but also on the internet. You tell it like it is. Sometimes I love your sassy posts when you see some stupid BS on the internet. And I think everyone sees that too, which is why we had, I mean, at the peak of this, we had 39 people in here, but we've had like 10 people throughout Instagram Live the whole time, but we've had at least like 40 to 50 people show up. So we've had a huge crowd, and I want to thank the audience for, you know, listening attentively. I hope you all took some good notes. And if you've had a good time in this call, you all know what time it is. Go ahead and unmute yourself and give us a little woo woo. I'm telling
Ooh.
y'all, I'm gonna make this a record. Larry is gonna compose it for us, actually.
I will do it.
Um, cool. Well, that concludes the interview and Q&A. A couple of announcements. So we didn't get it. We're not doing a listening session today, like y'all are kind of used to. But Yan has agreed to keep her email open for some submissions from our community. So Yan, I don't know if you want to drop it in the chat. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just dropped it. I don't know if you can pin it.
Okay, yeah, let me see if I don't know if I can pin. I don't think so, but I will drop that in the contact sheet also. So I'm going to drop the contact sheet in here one more time, and you all can go ahead and use that to connect with everybody. And then just as a reminder, so a couple of people have been asking about some of the services that Finesse Media offers. We're actually not providing any services outside of our VIP program right now. So we do manage 3 artists, but we're not taking on any additional artists at the moment. We do have our VIP platform where we provide some mentorship quarterly for VIPs, and then we also have listening sessions where you get priority listening for that. But if you have any questions, we do try to answer some questions on Instagram. I'm not the one who's always on there, but I do try to get on there every once in a while to answer questions too. Larry, did you have a question before we hop out?
Yeah, just want to make sure if we do send music, are you looking for anything in particular? Because I don't want to just send you anything. You got a whole inbox full of stuff you don't even want to listen to, you know?
So I'm definitely looking for, in particular, R&B. If you're in LA, hip hop or R&B, because I do a program a hip hop and R&B station, but it's only for LA. And then Caribbean and African music.
Okay.
I don't know if Bernard, if you feel comfortable sharing your contact, because he's one of the hip hop curators. So if y'all have hip hop, he might.
Yeah, I was trying to drop it in that Google sheet, but it was giving me difficulty. So I'm gonna just put it in the chat and y'all just holla at me.
Cool. And if anyone else is a music curator and here music programmer, feel free to drop your email if you want to receive some stuff too. But you can also drop it in the contact sheet. And I will add these emails to the contact sheet if they're not already in there. So yeah, Yan, thank you so much for being a part of this call. I know everybody was waiting for this call. So look at those head nods. I see y'all. And thank you again, everybody, for joining. We should be having another event in the next few weeks. Again, I'm trying to get into cadence again, but with all the travel, it's been a bit all over the place. But we love y'all. We love the Finesse Media community. Yan, again, thank you. And we will see y'all in a few weeks.